and thank you to the representative of Palestine and the question about children. Both the Secretary General and the High Commissioner for Human Rights have repeatedly expressed concern over the unacceptable impact of the conflict and indeed the occupation on Palestinian children. During this reporting period, as I mentioned, 48 Palestinian children have been killed and thousands injured by Israeli security forces, which is the highest number since 2014, when 500 Palestinian children were killed by Israeli fire. Should Palestinian children be encouraged to put themselves in harm's way? No, of course not. Should Palestinian rockets be fired against Israeli population centers that contain children? Absolutely not, and we condemn both actions. But I don't believe that any of those actions could possibly justify the frequent targeting by snipers who know exactly what they're doing and aim with immense accuracy, sometimes to kill, more often to injure, but with life-changing injuries, including loss of sight and amputation of limbs. Thousands of Palestinian children hit on a far too frequent basis. And whether it's across the Gaza fence, shooting, stone-throwing children whose stones fall way short of any Israeli target, or the harassing, threatening, beating, shooting, or imprisoning of hundreds of Palestinian children in the West Bank and East Jerusalem. Taking all that into account, it's impossible, in a way, to avoid thinking that if the aim of such actions was to make absolutely certain that the next generation of Palestinians would grow up profoundly radicalized and full of hatred for the people carrying out these actions, then one would think that the best way to turn that aim into reality would be to treat Palestinian families, adults and children, exactly the way they are being treated now, and we know that because it's captured on video almost every single day. Mr. Chair, would you allow me to finish on a slightly personal note? I joined the United Nations 30 years ago this week, and I've been following the issue we've been talking about today closely all that time. Indeed, I first visited the West Bank and Gaza and Israel in 1983, and Israel is a country I've always liked and admired, though not the occupation or the denial. But when I first went there in 1983, the occupation was 16 years old, and that already seemed like a lifetime of oppression for its inhabitants. It is now, as we all know, 52 years old, ever deepening, it appears, unending, unrelenting, unremitting, unconscionable. Taken as a whole, it's a massive injustice and a systematic example of discrimination and humiliation. I think it represents a shame to the occupiers and indeed to us all. And it's a driver of violent extremism around the world, as many courageous Israelis are the first to recognize, by the way. Last year, you will recall, distinguished delegates, we celebrated the 70th anniversary of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And when you read that magnificent document in the context of the Israeli occupation, one is struck by the extent and I think even the comprehensiveness with which almost every human right enshrined in that document, civil and political, economic, social and cultural, is constantly, systematically violated. Thank you, Mr. President.